Obsidian have recently released their Bases Core plugin, which allows you to see files or notes in a table database-like view for filtering and sorting options. And Morgen, because you can bring tasks from Obsidian into Morgen, have now added the ability to create a task as a file inside of Morgen. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can do that. So if we take a look at my Obsidian, you can see I've got the same file opened up twice. The left side is in the source view, the right side is in the live preview. So if I was to create a task block inside of Obsidian, you can see this is what it looks like in Markdown, this is what it looks like in preview, and I can add introduction as the name of a task. If I go into Morgen, I can go to the left sidebar, open up the task sidebar. We've got the Morgen task sources, or I can add an integration. So when I click here, I then get all of the options. I'm going to click on Obsidian, connect my Obsidian Vault, and then want to find the Vault folder. And now that I've connected the Obsidian Vault, if I scroll down, we have a few options. And what I'm looking for is this import notes as tasks option. So you can see it's currently turned on. So any file or note inside of Obsidian that has properties like this in it will show up in Morgen as tasks. But also down here, we've got an automatic task ID insertion. So it will automatically add an ID on a task block inside of Obsidian so Morgen can bring it in. With both of those turned on, I can then go back to my Obsidian and you'll notice an ID has automatically been added to this introduction task. And so when I look in Morgen, I can go to the Obsidian source, unfold all of the tasks, and there it is. It's inside of the ecological psychology file or note, and it's called introduction. If I left click on this task, I can open in Obsidian, and there it is. It's opened up the file and directed me to the task block. Now inside of Obsidian, in the new bases view, you can see ecological psychology as a file is being shown. But what I can do is add properties to this file. In source mode, it's separated by 3 dashes and 3 dashes and the properties being added inside, but you can do this inside of live preview as well. And so if I want it to be a task, I want a completed option, whether the file is complete or not. Is the note complete or not? So in Morgen, is the task complete or not? And you can see in live preview, it's showing as a Boolean, check or not checked. You can change the property type as a checkbox. When I tick it, it's going to say true. When I tick it false, it's going to say false. When I get rid of it, we then get the third state of just nothing is in there. Now when I come back to Morgen, you can see ecological psychology is showing up as a task inside of Morgen, and we've got an arrow to the side. If I click on that, the task block is showing as a subtask inside of the main task. So we've only got a completed property inside of an Obsidian file to bring it into Morgen as a task. But we can also add other property information that we might use inside of Morgen. If we go into Morgen, click on Obsidian, connect the Vault and scroll down, we can see the list of property, the type, and then the expected values to match the Obsidian file properties with the Morgen properties for the task. So we've got tags, priority, due date, and duration. And so I've added those properties into the file. You can see we've got the tags, we've got the priority as a text field, due date as a date field, duration as a number field. And when I go to the bases view, click on properties, I can then show all of those by searching for the property name and ticking it on. Now I'm going to add a due date. Let's say it's due for tomorrow. I'm going to add duration, say it's going to take 60 minutes, and priority, let's go with high. Coming back into Morgen, you can now see there is a due date on both the task block, so the subtask, and the file. The due date is for tomorrow. We've got a high priority in there, and we've also got the 1 hour duration. If we take a closer look at the Obsidian settings and we scroll down to those note imports, we can actually choose to inherit the parent tag or not for those subtasks, those block tasks inside of a file. We can turn that off or turn it on. It's on by default, and the date is also inherited unless the subtask is given a date itself. So I'm just going to add a due date into this subtask, and this is for Sunday. You can see it's been added. And when I have a look at Morgen, the subtask due date is now on Sunday, whereas the file is due on Friday. I can move these around and this will update back into Obsidian, just like all of the other due dates for tasks inside of Morgen. And you see, there it is on the 18th of October. As an additional note, TaskNotes as a plugin is also becoming fairly popular in the Obsidian community, where you can use tasks as Notes, which is what we're talking about right now. And what this plugin lets you do, if you go into the TaskNotes settings, go to Task Properties, they have default properties inside of each file. And you see you can change all of those properties. But if we scroll down, remember at the start we needed a completed or completion property so that Morgen can add the Obsidian file as a task. Well, you can add a user field, left click in, and then edit the property. So I've called it Morgen. The property key is completed, just like we had before, and it's a Boolean, so it's a checkbox type. And so now when I come in and I use TaskNotes to create a new task, let's say it's new task from TaskNotes, let's add a due date for today and save. You can see the file has been created and you can see it as a task note as the plugin works. When you click on it and scroll down, you can add the custom field in. So now we're adding the custom field and saving. It's created the completed and true as an option. We actually want it false, so I'm going to manually change that. And so now inside of Morgen, that task, the new task from TaskNotes, is showing as a file to be completed. And if I tick it inside of Morgen, just like any task, it will sync the status back to Obsidian. And so now the file has been completed. The way that I would personally create files as new task notes is to use this as a template. So you can see I've changed the name of the file, I've moved it into my templates folder, but it still has all of the properties that the TaskNotes plugin wants, plus that custom property we added. So now when I create a new file and I ask to use a template, I can select that TaskNotes template, and now we've got all those file properties in, meaning that the file will be recognized by Morgen as a task. You can see there's the untitled file I've just created, and so I can tick it off done. By default, that custom field is added via the core templates. I personally use the Quick Add plugin for this, but you don't need community plugins to be able to use a template. If you have any questions about the integration, about using Obsidian with Morgen or using Morgen to manage tasks and calendars together, let me know inside of the comment section below.